What?
I like big butts, I cannot lie. When I see them walking by.
Iced tea. Now that's an important issue.
Uh-huh.
See, because, I mean, like, just last week, my homie, he shot 2 people, right?
Right.
And neither one of them had health insurance.
Say, George, you fought many of these, but how many rounds are there in a title fight?
Ooh, Peter, you know, there's round steak and there's ground round, and there's so many round tasted things. I'm gonna have to go with a cheeseburger, that's round.
In Living Color is a groundbreaking show, and you were a cast member. Let's just, first of all, is this your first gig? When you go on In Living Color, is that your first gig? Like big gig?
My first TV show.
Your first TV show. Now, how do you get there? How do we get to
the first one?
In Living Color, was it, I mean, because everyone probably wanted to be on that show. Was there an audition process? Did they find you? How did you get that?
It was weird. I was living in Seattle at the time.
Really?
And I was flying down to, I flew down to LA to do Evening at the Improv. So I did, remember Evening at the Improv?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I did an episode of that. And then the people from BET saw me. And I did an episode of BET Comic View. That's back when D.L. Hewley was hosting.
Right.
And then the people from In Living Color saw me, and they had me come in and audition. And it was just bizarre because you had to come up with characters to put in your stand-up act at like the Laugh Factory on a Wednesday night, you know, for industry. It was crazy. But what got me the gig was when I did the George Foreman. The George Foreman nailed it. The George Foreman, that's when I got the gig.
George Foreman nailed it. That got into the show. It was East Hollywood Squares, right?
East Hollywood Squares, yep. Mm-hmm.
And you did.
That was a good time.
Yeah. So how many shows? How many episodes did you do?
Ice-T. I think I did about 15. I did a season.
You did a season. Did you know? Did they or you know it was the last season?
No. I told Jamie when it was canceled.
You told like, Jamie Foxx when it was canceled.
Yes. I'm like, do you know we canceled? He's like, what? I'm like
it wasn't a Hollywood plan. You weren't like, no, they found you, brought you down, you do your thing. You have to be thinking when you're doing a show as big as In Living Color, like, I got this.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, I got this?
It was irony. It was irony in it, you know? Because, like, when I moved down to LA, it was real short notice. So I bought a car for like $450.
Nice.
A 1976 Oldsmobile Omega.
Yeah.
Drove it down. I got down there. I found an apartment in the hood, which was right around the corner from the studio, from the Foxx studios, because I wanted to be able to walk there.
Smart.
And here I am. I'm living in the hood with a $400 car, and Reebok is my sponsor, and Serengeti sunglasses too. So I'm getting boxes of like all this gear every day.
Wait. You got to pause on that. You got a $450 car. You're in the hood, but you have a sponsor of Reebok and Serengeti sunglasses. How did that come to be?
Yeah. My manager set up a meeting with them after they saw me perform doing the audition for In Living Color. And when I got on Living Color, they were like, we want to sponsor you. So I would get boxes, bro.
What?
I would get like a big ass box every week full of clothes, full of sweats and stuff. I mean, they had me come in and they would have me come in like once a month to measure me. And then they just start sending me stuff, man. It was crazy.
You got all this clothes and this gear. Are you eating good at that time? I mean, how you live it? Like, that's literally the question in the in the theme song. How you live it?
At that time, I'm living ghetto fabulous.
Ghetto fabulous is my
I'm in the
move.
ghetto,
this tie,
but I'm living
I got
well.
20 of these style of ties for free. That was my sponsor, Bowie and Fletcher ties.
There you go.
Ghetto fabulous. I didn't have enough gas for the car, but I had a $120 tie on.
Yes. That was the wild part. I mean, I would drive onto the lot, and every day, the security guard, I'm like, dude, you know me. I still got to check. Oh, yes. Are you expecting car? I'm like, ain't this a bitch, man? Oh man, it drove me crazy. I'm like, you expecting me to get a new car? That's what you expected.
Right. I mean, you needed another season. It's like it's right there. Let me.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell Jamie Foxx, look, man, we're canceled, and let's get to where things move to in the future. But I'm just curious. This is the last season, and the Wayans aren't working on the show, but you still have, Jim Carrey, David Allen Grier, Tommy Davidson, Jamie Foxx. I mean, there are Oscar nominations and Oscar wins amongst those. These are big dogs. What was the collaboration like with them? What was the feeling like? I mean, they're established.
Well, yeah. Like in sketch comedy, it's kind of dog eat dog. If you interview anybody that's done sketch comedy TV, they'll tell you that the way you get your stuff on is you keep coming up with ideas and pitching them to the writers constantly. You're constantly telling them stuff. And at that time, Nick Bakay, he was writing on the show too. He was writing.
Okay.
On Living Color. Now, I was constantly pitching my stuff though. That's how you got to get on. That's the hardest part. Is like you're constantly meeting with writers and everything. But it was cool. It was a nice break into show business for me because it was legit and I learned a lot. But it was very competitive.
No doubt about it. I mean, especially when you're the new kid coming in. What did you have? Did you have any moments with some of these guys? I mean, when you're there with Jim Carrey, he's already a movie star at this point, right? I mean, he's doing huge.
No, at that moment when I was with him, when I was working with him on Living Color, it was funny because David Allen Grier was like, "Yeah, much movie Blank Man, it's gonna be big." He was like talking it up, man.
What was his film? Which one was it? Did you say it
in
was
between scenes? Blank Man.
I remember Blank Man, and that was Grier. So he's thinking, I got the juice.
Yep. And at that same time, Jim Carrey, between scenes, is going straight into his office, writing. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, oh, man, got this rewrite for this Pet Detective movie, man. And, I just hope it goes well. It looks silly, but it's fun. And I'm having a great time. So how that turned out.
Wow. He's doing rewrites while he's on the set with you. He's stressing about it. What was his vibe?
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds to me like David Allen Grier thought he was the biggest dog. We all know that Jim Carrey comes out of it as the big dog. Although Jamie Foxx at some point
super down to earth. But Jamie was
super down to earth.
Yeah, Jamie was real cool. Jamie lived like 5 or 6 blocks from me.
Really?
When I moved up to the Valley. Because while I was on Living Color, this is how I rolled. I moved from Sunset and Bronson in the hood up to the Valley. So I'm in Sherman Oaks. And right across the street from the dry cleaners that is used on the, on Curb Your Enthusiasm. They would film that there later on. So anyway, Jamie would call me after work and be like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, I'm chilling. And he's like, no, you're not. You're knitting. Because I learned how to crochet on the show.
No.
Yeah. Because there's nothing to do in between like scenes. So while you're waiting, there's nothing to do. One of the wardrobe ladies taught me how to crochet.
You got to have a hobby.
So I would do that to relax. Yeah. Yeah. So I would go over Jamie's and we would shoe hoop and, have beers and wings and stuff. He was real cool. He was very supportive too.
When you're, that's so cool that Jamie was so supportive. When you're working with these guys, and let's just mention Tommy Davidson as well as
Tommy is disgusting with talent.
Yeah.
I mean, I would watch him. He could tone or a voice and just run with it. You know what I mean? Which was great. I mean, I loved working with him. He was a great guy too.
Who is the guy out of that cast that that basically you guys couldn't keep going because it would crack people up? Like, was there one person where you were just like, or at least for your sensibilities, were like, that just person just crush you every time?
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the day. Yeah, because we were doing the one scene with Cheap Pete with Chris Rock, and I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh, that's right.
Because-
Chris Rock was coming in. He had done SNL and not really found a lot of success there, but he had this Cheap Pete character, which to me, I always, because I was young, I just kept remembering Cheap Pete as an SNL character. It's like, no way, man. It was, and he should have been on In Living Color from the jump. Unfortunately, he would have been wildly famous immediately. And that Cheap Pete, what was it like? How much just one rib?
Yeah. He was a nut, man. He was cool. Chris is cool. And since then, I've opened for him and Tommy a couple times, out on the road and stuff here and there. I've worked with them.